Hey everybody, Steve here. Welcome to the fourth video in my drone building series for absolute beginners. In this series, we're going to build a FPV style racing drone from scratch. This is video 4. If you're not watching them in sequence, you missed a lot of good information in video 1. Video 1 is probably the most important video out of the entire bunch because it teaches you what to buy, what not to buy, what parts go with what, and basically how to make good decisions while buying this stuff. It's a half an hour video, so it's kind of long, but half an hour is a very, very short period of time when you consider the alternative, which is buying the wrong parts or buying parts that don't work with each other and end up spending either days or weeks waiting for the correct parts to arrive. All right, so in video 2, we started building the frame and we did all of the soldering for our power distribution board, which is underneath there. In video 3, we did an introduction to beta flight, and we plugged in our flight controller for the first time to make sure that it worked, and we upgraded the firmware. Very important. In this video, we're going to introduce the radio, also known as the transmitter, and this guy, also known as the receiver. The receiver and the transmitter that we're going to use is the FlySky FST6 and the receiver that comes with it, which is the FSR6B. This is a 6-channel receiver. It is PWM. And for those of you who are in the know, you are probably wondering, why in the world am I going to use a PWM receiver? Well, the reason for that, and I've said this in the previous videos, is that the whole reason why I'm making the series is because the local high school had approached me and asked me to help their drone club get in the air. They've had their drones since August of last year and they're struggling. This is a representation of some of the equipment that they have. Their requisition went in a couple of years ago and they didn't get their stuff until last year. So we're using an F3 board, and yes, we're going to use a PWM receiver, and yes, we're going to use a FlySky 6-channel transmitter. But just as a way of showing some differentiation, I'm also going to do a PPM install. Basically, for those of you that don't know, these are all the wires that are required for a PWM install. Whereas with PPM or even USB, it's one wire. All right, one wire is much easier than lots of wires. But we're going to do it the hard way because that's what the kids at the high school have to do. And we'll start with that. All right, so the procedure for binding this particular receiver is, with your receiver, you probably got a bind plug. So let's go ahead and take this bind plug and put it in the battery slot right there, or BAT. And then what we're going to do is, now this is going to vary depending on what you got. If you've got opto ESCs like I do, and you don't have one of the newfangled distribution boards that distribute 5 volts and 12 volts individually, then you're going to have a UBEC. If you have the type of ESCs that have 3 wires, then you're going to have a signal, a positive and a negative, and you'll be able to just use your ESC. But what you're going to want to do, being very, very careful and cognizant of polarity. And if you look at this thing right here, it's very clear if you read it from right to left. Let's see if I can get a good picture. From right to left, it goes negative, positive, and then signal. So we absolutely want to make sure that we put the negative in the right place. And that is towards the bottom, or towards the, like that. And we can put this in any of the other ESC. We can put this in any of the other channels. So, noting polarity, my black wire is to the right of my red wire, and that's the way it is there. Essentially what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug in my battery. All right, so we plug it in. Our receiver is blinking, saying, okay, ready to bind, ready to bind. We're going to grab our radio, and on our radio, on the back of our radio, there's a button that says bind key. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to hold that button down, like so. I'm holding it, and now I'm going to give this some power and get rid of the throttle, and it's now solid. I can let go of the bind key, and now my receiver is bound to my radio, and we're ready for the next step. Okay, so now that we've got this guy talking to this guy, we want to have this guy talking to this guy so that this guy can talk to this guy and tell him how to fly. So I just kind of temporarily put my receiver right here with channel 1 way off to the right hand side and the channel 6 and battery off to the left side. And we're going to hook this up PWM because that's what this is. This is a PWM, which is basically, it's the hardest to hook up. And on your flight controller, you've got IO1 and IO2. And to be honest with you, I forget which one's which, but we're going to use both of them. So there's an IO, here's an IO on this side and an IO on that side. And what you're going to do is you're going to look in your flight controller kit for something that looks like this. That's what he looks like. And I got these from the school, and they're kind of hacked up, but I found two that will work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug one in IO port 1 and one in IO port 2, and I'm going to have to drop the film while I do that. Okay, so this is what I mean by plugging them into the ports. We've got these guys in one side, and we got these guys on another side, on the other side. Okay, so now keep in mind, this is PWM. We're forced to use PWM because we have this receiver and this radio. But you could very easily step up to this radio's more expensive brother, and it will use a receiver like this, which is PPM. And that connection will be very similar to this PPM, which is one wire. One simple wire. Nice and easy. All right, so the drone is facing forward. So we're going to come over here to the right side, and we're looking for pins 1, 2, and 3. They are incidentally the black, the red, and the white. Whoops, I got a purple in there. All right, so we're going to grab the black, the red, and the white. And remember our polarity. Get the polarity right. The black is going to go all the way to the front. So everything that I do right here is critical that you get it right, or your radio won't send things to the right channels. So we're going to take this guy, and we're going to pop him in like that, noting the polarity, with the black one being the furthest away. All right, so that's channel 1. Channel 2, we're going to grab, now remember, we just used pins 1 through 3, right? All right, so here are the pinouts for this side. It goes black, then red, then white. The 4th pin is the purple one, and that's the one we're going to grab next. This one's kind of hacked up. The wires that the kids weren't using got chopped off, but I guess that's okay because we're not using them anyway. So pin 4, which is purple, is going to go into channel 2. Let's do that now. I'm actually looking through the camera as I do this. Remember have your signal side where your signal needs to be. All right, so there's channel 2. Channel 3 is going to be the same as channel 1, but coming from this side with our servo with 3 leads. All right, so our next one is going to be our next color, and if you can see the pins, black is 1, red is 2, white is 3, and sneaking in there in the 4th spot is purple. So we're going to grab him next, and then, oh, by the way, we're going to grab yellow, which is in the 5 spot next. And those are going to be our next 2 and last 2 channels. All right, so purple on this side, and yellow on this side. I'm going to just go ahead and do that. There it is, PWM, all set up. That's the final one right there. Make sure you get your polarity right with your negatives in the right place and your signals all in the right place. All right, so now basically we're in a situation where we are ready to make sure that we set this thing up correctly. Let's do it. I am going to pull my radio into the scenario and flip it on. Now the first thing that we want to do with our radio, if you have this particular radio, is this is a roller right here. You can roll this to make decisions. You can also press it. All right, so if we press this, we got system and we got setup. Let's roll over to setup and press. And you see all these options. I want you to come down to display and click on it. And then I want you to just throw the throttle, and you can see channel 3 is moving. That's a good thing. Throw the yaw, and you can see channel 4 is moving. Throw the pitch, and you can see channel 2 is moving, like so. Throwing the pitch, we get channel 2, and then when we roll, we get channel 1. Okay, so we know that all of our channels are working. All right, so we can hit cancel to get out of here. All right, so we're back to this. All right, so not too shabby. We got everything hooked up in PWM. We got our receiver talking to our transmitter, and I think we'll call it quits for this video right here. In the next video, we are going to hook up our ESCs, and we're going to set up those channels in Betaflight. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. Remember to subscribe to the channel, comment if you like, and if you're interested in any of these parts and stuff like that, I will list links to all the parts in the description, along with the complete playlist of all the videos that eventually become this playlist. So thanks again for watching. I'm Steve. See you in the next video.